I think my wife's best friend is developing feelings for me. And my wife doesn't want to believe me because it's her best friend. It started small. My wife, Emily, and her best friend, Kayla, have been inseparable since middle school. They went to the same college, were bridesmaids in each other's weddings, and to this day, they talk almost daily. So, naturally, when we got married 2 years ago, Kayla became a regular fixture in our home. At first, I liked her energy. She was fun, spontaneous, and never failed to make Emily laugh. We'd all sit together in our living room, binge-watch crime shows, order takeout, and talk about everything, from weird dreams to political drama. It felt like family. But around 6 months ago, something shifted. It was a Saturday evening. Emily had gone upstairs to take a shower, and Kayla and I were finishing a bottle of wine we had opened earlier. Nothing too intense, just a glass or two each. The TV was playing in the background, and we were chatting, mostly about some show we were watching. Then, out of nowhere, Kayla leaned in closer and said, "Emily is so lucky to have you, you know." I smiled, a little awkwardly. "Well, I'm the lucky one." She didn't break eye contact. "No, really, you're everything a woman could want." It caught me off guard, but I laughed it off, assuming it was the wine. "Thanks, Kayla. That's sweet of you." Emily came back downstairs a few minutes later, and the moment dissolved, but it stuck with me. Over the next few weeks, more strange moments followed. Kayla would sit a little too close when Emily wasn't in the room. She started texting me separately about random things, restaurant recommendations, articles she thought I'd find interesting. Once, she sent a selfie with a new haircut and asked, "You like?" before Emily even knew she had cut her hair. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself I was imagining things. But denial has a limit. One evening, Emily had a late shift at the hospital. Kayla stopped by to drop off some cupcakes. She didn't leave right away. Instead, she lingered in the kitchen, chatting with me about how her day had gone. I was polite, but I kept checking the clock, making it clear I wasn't comfortable. She noticed. "You don't have to act weird, you know," she said, stepping closer. "I'm not gonna bite." I laughed nervously, brushing it off. "No one said you would." Then she said it. "You ever wonder what would have happened if we met before you and Em got together?" My stomach dropped. I stood there, frozen, trying to decide how to respond. I settled on a firm but calm, "Kayla, that's not appropriate." She blinked, seemingly surprised at my tone. "It was just a question. Chill." But it wasn't just a question. It was a test. After that night, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. So, when Emily got home, I told her everything, minus any dramatics. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Kayla?" she asked. "My Kayla?" "Yeah," I said. "Your Kayla. I think she's developing feelings for me." Emily laughed, not cruelly, just in disbelief. "You're reading too much into it. She's always flirty. It's just her personality." I didn't argue. Not yet. But I could see the disbelief in her eyes, the choice to protect her best friend, rather than confront what could be real. And I realized something that night. This wasn't going to be easy, because Kayla wasn't backing off. And Emily? She wasn't ready to believe me. Over the next week, I expected things to cool off. I thought Kayla might have felt the awkwardness of that last encounter, how I subtly rejected her and then told Emily. I figured maybe she'd pull back, keep things platonic again, or at least stay away for a while. I was wrong. She came over that Thursday evening, acting like nothing had happened. She brought wine, a charcuterie board, and a movie recommendation. Emily, oblivious to the tension under the surface, welcomed her with open arms. "Movie night," she said with a grin, throwing herself onto the couch. I sat stiffly on the other side, trying not to overthink it. Maybe Emily was right. Maybe I had overreacted. Then during the movie, Kayla did it again. She slid next to me, not in a dramatic way, just casual enough to look innocent, but close enough that our knees were touching. I shifted. She didn't. Emily dozed off midway through the film. She'd had a long shift and was curled up under a blanket, breathing softly. Kayla waited maybe 10 minutes before leaning in to whisper, "She doesn't see it, does she?" I didn't respond. She smirked. "You're not imagining it, James." I looked at her. "Don't." "Don't what?" "This," I whispered harshly. "Don't talk like that. You're her best friend. And you're her husband. I'm just saying, it's crazy how blind people can be." I stood up and grabbed a glass of water from the kitchen. My hands were shaking. I wanted to yell, to say something louder, more final, but Emily was sleeping, and I didn't want to cause a scene. I felt trapped, by silence, by disbelief, by Kayla's quiet persistence. The next day, I told Emily again, this time with a little more edge. "She did it again," I said. "She waited for you to fall asleep and then started flirting." Emily sighed. "James, she was probably joking." "She's not joking. She's pushing boundaries, and you're not seeing it." "Because there's nothing to see." We argued for the first time in months. She got defensive. saying I was misinterpreting things, that Kayla had a boyfriend now, some guy she met on a dating app. I asked, "Have you ever seen them together?" Emily paused. "Well, no. But Kayla told me they were keeping it low-key." I couldn't help but scoff. "Yeah, low-key because he doesn't exist." She stormed out of the room, saying I was being paranoid. The tension only got worse. Kayla didn't back off. In fact, she began acting even bolder, finding ways to touch me on the arm, asking my opinion on outfits, calling me late at night, accidentally, then laughing it off. I started avoiding her altogether. I told Emily I was uncomfortable being alone with Kayla, that I wouldn't stay in the room if she was around. Emily took it personally. "So now you're saying I can't hang out with my best friend?" "I'm saying she's crossing lines, and if you love me, you'd see that." Emily's face crumbled. "Don't make me choose." That hit hard, because for the first time, I realized she wasn't just brushing me off. She was protecting Kayla, even when it meant hurting me. And I didn't know what scared me more, that Kayla was getting more reckless, or that Emily would never believe me until it was too late. A week after our argument, I came home to find Kayla already inside. She was helping Emily rearrange the living room, something about feng shui, and making the space feel more open. I stayed quiet, walking straight to our bedroom, but Kayla called after me. "Hey James, you mind helping us move this coffee table? You're the muscle around here." I didn't respond. Emily poked her head down the hallway. "Can you, babe?" "Just a second, promise." I sighed and walked back out, deliberately grabbing the coffee table from Kayla's side to avoid being close to her. She smirked at my coldness, like it amused her. After the table was moved, Kayla flopped onto the couch and said, "We should do a game night soon, like old times, you, me, and Em." "Not happening," I muttered under my breath. Emily gave me a warning glance. "Can we talk privately?" I nodded, and we stepped into the kitchen. She closed the door behind us. "What is going on with you?" she asked, frustrated. "I told you what's going on. She's playing some manipulative game and you refuse to see it." Emily shook her head. "James, she's been my best friend since college. She was my maid of honor. She helped me through my dad's death. She is not in love with you." "Well, she's certainly acting like it. You're blowing this out of proportion." "No," I said firmly. "You're just refusing to believe it because the truth hurts." Emily crossed her arms. "I think you're just uncomfortable with us spending time together. Maybe you're projecting." That word hit me like a slap. "Projecting?" She nodded. "Maybe you're attracted to her and trying to shift the blame." I stared at her, stunned. "You think I'm the problem?" "I don't know," she said. "You're acting like she's stalking you or something, and it's weird. It's making things tense." "It's tense because you won't believe your own husband." We didn't finish the conversation. Kayla had already ordered pizza and put on a playlist like it was some casual Friday night. I couldn't take it anymore. I told them I had a headache and left for a drive. That drive turned into a few hours at a bar, just one drink, enough to clear my head. I sat there thinking about how things got so twisted, how a seemingly harmless friendship had turned into this wedge between me and my wife. I came home late. The lights were off. The house was quiet. I crept into the bedroom and found Emily asleep, but her phone was lit up on the nightstand. A text from Kayla popped up just as I picked it up to plug it in. "Kayla, I know he felt it today. He looked at me like he wanted to say something." My stomach dropped. I scrolled up and saw a string of messages going back weeks. Some harmless, some less so. "Kayla, he's always so tense around me lately. Kinda hot, not gonna lie. Kayla, I swear if he weren't yours." And then one that made my blood run cold. "Kayla, you should be careful, Em. If you keep doubting him, someone else might make him feel seen." I put the phone down gently and walked out of the room. I wasn't crazy. Kayla was doing this on purpose, and now I had proof. But what I didn't know was whether Emily would finally believe me, or if finding out would shatter more than just our marriage. The next morning, I woke up early, even though I hadn't slept much. I kept replaying those texts in my mind, each word etched into my brain. I kept thinking, this is it. This is what Emily needs to see. It wasn't just me imagining things anymore. Kayla had crossed a line multiple times, and now my wife had no excuse to ignore it. I waited until Emily stirred. She blinked herself awake, and before she could even sit up, I placed her phone in her lap. "Go ahead, read the messages, from Kayla." She looked confused, her brows furrowed, but she swiped it open and scrolled. Her expression changed quickly, confusion to disbelief, and then heartbreak. I didn't speak. I watched her read the exact words I had seen hours earlier. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say something. but no sound came out. Finally, she looked at me. I didn't know, she whispered. I tried to tell you, I said softly, more than once. I thought you were being jealous or paranoid. I didn't think she'd... She stopped herself, pressing her fingers to her lips. This doesn't even sound like her. That's because she's not the person you think she is. Emily stood up and walked out of the room without another word. I didn't follow. I gave her space, but my stomach churned. After months of frustration and gaslighting, I had finally been vindicated. But it didn't feel like a victory. About an hour later, I heard voices. Kayla had come over. Of course, she had. She still had a key. From the top of the stairs, I could hear Emily confronting her. I read the text, Kayla. There was silence. Then Kayla's voice, shaky but sharp. You read my private messages? You sent them to me. Emily sounded disgusted. Kayla tried to laugh it off. Oh my God, Em, you're taking this way too seriously. It was just joking around. You know how I talk. I'd never do anything to come between you two. Except you did, Emily said flatly. Kayla's tone turned defensive. So what now? You're kicking me out of your life because your husband can't handle a little flirtation? Flirtation. She admitted it. That was all I needed to hear. I came down the stairs and stood behind Emily. You don't get to flip this on her, I said. You've been crossing boundaries for months. You made things uncomfortable on purpose. She turned to me, cold in the eyes now. You always did take things too seriously. Maybe I was testing something, but I wouldn't have bothered if I didn't think part of you wanted it. I shook my head. That's not just disrespectful, it's delusional. Emily didn't defend her. She just stared, like she didn't even recognize the woman in front of her. Kayla sighed, standing up and grabbing her bag. Fine. Enjoy your perfect little marriage. I hope you two are happy. And just like that, she walked out. No apology, no guilt, nothing. Emily sat down on the couch, her eyes glassy. I don't even know what to think anymore. She's been part of my life for so long. I know, I said, sitting beside her. But people change. Or maybe they just show you who they've really been all along. She leaned against me, silent. The storm had passed, but the damage was still there, settling into the walls like dust. What we didn't know yet was that Kayla wasn't done, not by a long shot. We thought Kayla walking out that day would be the end of it, that she'd cool off, maybe ghost us for a while, then quietly fade from our lives. But people like Kayla don't go quietly, especially not when their ego takes a hit. 2 days after the confrontation, Emily got a text from one of her mutual friends. Apparently, Kayla had started spreading rumors, first subtle, then brazen. She said I'd been the one who flirted with her, that I crossed the line, that I'd come on to her, and when she shut me down, I panicked and made her look like the villain. It stung. Not because I cared what Kayla thought of me, I didn't, but because people started whispering. Friends we used to go on double dates with suddenly stopped replying to texts. A few even unfollowed both of us on social media. In their silence, they made it clear who they believed. Emily tried to set the record straight. She showed the screenshots. She told the truth. But people pick sides based on comfort, not facts. And choosing to believe Emily meant questioning years of loyalty to Kayla. That was too much for most of them. One night, I found Emily crying in the bathroom, her phone in her lap, tears streaking her cheeks. She looked up at me and whispered, "Why do I feel like I'm the one being punished?" I knelt beside her and pulled her into my arms. Because betrayal doesn't just come from lovers. It comes from friends who know exactly how to hurt you. In the weeks that followed, we started closing our circle. We focused on the people who knew us well enough to see through the noise. Our families, a couple of real friends, and each other. Therapy helped, for both of us. Not just to process the incident, but to rebuild trust between us. Emily admitted she had felt something was off too, but she didn't want to face it. Kayla had been in her life since college. Letting go of her wasn't just painful, it was disorienting. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Emily turned to me. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you right away. I'm sorry it took proof for you to see it." We sat there for a moment in silence, holding hands. That silence felt full of pain, of healing, of something finally beginning again. Weeks turned into months. The dust eventually settled, and the drama faded like old headlines. Kayla moved cities, probably chasing another life to tangle with. We heard through the grapevine that she'd lost touch with nearly everyone from our group. The truth has a way of leaking out over time. And us? We grew stronger. Ironically, it was this storm, unwanted, unfair, and emotionally brutal, that made us look at our marriage in a new way. We talked more, we listened deeper, and most importantly, we stopped assuming the worst of each other. One night, as we were getting ready for bed, Emily looked at me in the mirror and said, "You always made me feel safe. That's why she hated you." I smiled. "I'll always protect what's mine." even if that means protecting you from people you love." She walked over and kissed my forehead. "That's exactly why I chose you." So no, this story didn't end in fire and broken glass. It ended in something stronger. Clarity. Painful, yes, but also necessary. Because sometimes the people who threaten your marriage aren't strangers. They're the ones who once stood beside you, holding your hand, with the other hand behind their back, and learning to see them for who they really are. That's how you save what matters most.